All right, well, good evening, everybody. We'll get started here in just a second or two. I know you're all excited to find out about the Set 14 spoilers. I was excited when I saw them. Well, when I was excited when I got to see them, so I can prepare for this show. We've got 25 cards that we're going to go through 12 dark side, 13 light side. I think that's right. There's either 12 or 14 on each side. Now I'm second guessing myself. Oh, see what you guys make me do? Um, But in case you missed Hollow Theater this week and haven't been on the forums in the last few days, uh, there's a bunch of errata coming up, and you can find the full list. EBT was kind enough, thank you, Adam, for posting all the text here. Casey had posted some screenshots earlier from Dan's Hollow Theater show, but here's a more condensed list of just the text versions of some of the cards that are being changed. And while we're letting everybody else trickle in, we'll go ahead and just kind of go through these real quick. So General Pride getting changed doesn't make Hux immediately lost anymore, which is good. Hux is just forfeit -3, therefore he's less useful, because Hux did still coexist with Pride for a period of time, so that makes a little more sense than rather than just having him immediately be lost. You could have given him the same, similar to like the react text that like Vader has, where he kills Ozzel. Um, so that way, like the interaction would have been limited. But just making Hux forfeit minus is also just a universal negative that still allows them to be played together, which is good. Imp Justice is being blanked and being replaced by Shot in the Dark. This is essentially done because Imp Justice was not unique, and they wanted the card to be unique. So that way the effect would be stuck on the table and you couldn't play multiple copies of it. Certain decks running multiple copies of Justice or Evac Control have been problematic. No Idea coming to mind as one of those decks. Um, so switching it up, putting it on a unique card makes a little bit more sense there. It's also only stacked 2 instead of 3. So you twice per game you get to bail yourself out of a, hey, we're gonna get take some serious battle damage here, or some multiple destinies have to clear some guys. So scaling it back a little bit, trying to speed games along a little bit, kind of preventing some of those doom stack scenarios where you've got, you know, a Star Destroyer with a bunch of ISB guys and, Tarkin canceling a Destiny, or the Biker Scout guys subtracting from. You only get one, and then I draw Destiny and subtract from it. Same thing with, a lot of light side space decks too, with, Tanev and Bright Hope, and then you're limited to one Destiny, and then I draw and subtract from your Destiny. Um, Kind of just makes it very difficult to ever get through that. You have to, suffer through 3 or 4 battles before they finally start to lose something. And this will cut that back and scale it back a little bit to kind of make that a little bit more interactable. So that should hopefully speed that up a little bit. Also speeding things up a little bit was the Lana Dobreed and Sacrifice and the Odin Nestler First Aid combo. Your character gets to keep its forfeit, but may not be used to satisfy attrition. So when your one guy gets hit and you're like, well, he still has his 7 forfeit, so I'll just lose that guy. Now it's, they don't satisfy attrition, so you'll have to lose your guy. Still don't take the battle damage, which will still help you out and save you. And if it's a lone character there, the attrition doesn't really matter much anyway if they're hit. But if you have, 3 or 4 guys and, somebody who's got a big forfeit boost, say from Talon Card and the Watch Your Step objective, and you've got Chewie forfeiting for 10 or something like that, now you'll have to lose somebody else along with him. So little things like that. Objectives getting updated. Mustafar's getting changed not to pull the castle anymore. That's going to impact some activation packages for sure. Hunt down's getting changed, so you can't start basically guaranteeing yourself turn one Vader. You'll still get the castle. You'll get a Cloud City site with one icon. So you're giving yourself 1, 2, 3 plus one for yourself is 4. You can't start, which is the same as the other hunt down objective. You can't start security precautions anymore to give yourself the 5th icon. You can't start a 2-1 location or 2-0 location, 2-1 location to give yourself the 6th icon. So even if your opponent like gave you nothing, like they just played like a Jedi Council chamber start or something, or throne room or whatever that gives up 0 icons, um, you you can't guarantee that, or hidden base or whatever. You can't guarantee yourself that turn one Vader. Now you're going to need either your opponent's going to have to give you an icon or two, and much like regular hunt down, then they should expect that hunt down will play Vader on turn one. Um, maybe you can still squeeze out a Blizzard 4, but not with the Goldenrod shield. So certainly some it's slowing that deck down so it doesn't have a guaranteed turn one start, which I like. Also getting tweaked. Inquisitors are only Destiny +1 instead of Destiny +2. Good change. Pretty much anytime you ever put +2 on a card, you can almost guarantee that it's going to get rolled back and eventually become a +1. We just see it time and time again. Yeah, +1's not good enough. Let's give it +2. And it's like, well, +2 is way too good. So we're going to end up back at +1 anyway. Yes, good point there. Of course, it's not a Cloud City site; it's a Cloud City icon site. Um, so if there are any other sites in Cloud City that are not Cloud City related, I can't think of any off the top of my head. Um, but you could play those, maybe like the Star Destroyer Launch Bear. I don't know if there's anything else in the Cloud City set that is non-Cloud City related. Maybe there is uh, something that would be an alternative location for it to start with. And then the flip side had a little bit of an oversight to it where it didn't have this text. Invader not on table was not was not on the card. So yeah, Jedi would go down, battle Vader, hit Vader, they die, leave the table. Vader dies and leaves the table, but because there's no longer a Jedi on the table, it doesn't flip the object. It didn't flip the objective back. Um, I don't know if that's what they initially intended, if that's how they play tested it, and it didn't seem to be an issue. But live games clearly show that that's not really an interaction that made sense. And design stepped in and went, yeah, okay, let's make sure we update that text to include that, because to be on the 7 side and not losing anything to visage damage and whatnot is kind of silly if Vader's not even on the table anymore. So that's a good change. Entanglements gets tweaked again to play no Admiral's Orders. We had it play, it couldn't play, we're in attack position. Then, no, okay, no, now it can't play Intensify because that's too good to get the troopers out for free or one. So now it's basically just, yeah, you start with you start with the Star Destroyer, add a battleground system. So you immediately get around battle plan. So we have to give up some big things to make that happen. I've said a few times in a few different chats that there's a reason that Invasion, which starts the droid battleship or the Trade Federation battleship, Naboo is a non-battleground. Why that objective is on the 0 side, specifically because you're getting a huge head start in terms of satisfying battle plan. Um, so now you got to give up a little bit more to keep that. No Admiral's Orders. Still good. The deck still runs fine. It has run fine without it. Now you'll have to play a slightly different way of getting your activation, and maybe you don't do Ozzel Piet and then do that whole setup. Maybe you'll play something else. Doesn't Aratek match for vehicles? So you'll play some of the Endor guys now, and you can match for some ATSTs or something. Um, you can go that version with it, or you could just play like some good characters, kind of like Rops does, where they play a bunch of guys who kind of draw by themselves, but it's Rops on Tatooine. Um, you know, Interesting little things like that that you can do, of course. Stalker's getting changed here. The follow text is now just once per game. Kind of like the Episode 7 Falcon can make that double move once per game. Well, the other Stalker can make an extra move once per game. Seems good. So, that's good there. That's really it for Dark Side. Light Side changes. We've got Torrin Far getting changed. Her text is basically, instead of retrieving the guy and or she can stack it on evac, which again created more of that loop scenario where you just keep forfeiting crappy ability 2 pilots for 6 to 8, forfeit, stack them on evac control with Torrin Far. Next battle, pick that guy up, limiting them to 1 battle destiny again, lose another guy from the ship. Torrin Far stacks it over there, then you redeploy the first guy, and it really just created, a never-ending loop where you're never really getting anywhere, especially with, Bright Hope and Profundity or Tantive or something. So now she can still get the guys back, but she's not giving you extra pulls with whatever card it's on. It's on Flash to Insight now down here. Yoda's getting a little tweak here. His once per game move only goes to an Episode 1 Battleground as a regular move. Kind of being a little more thematic. He is an Episode 1 era Jedi for the most part, and whatever came before Episode 1. He's a prequel era Jedi for the most part, and the 800 years that preceded it. So now he, you can't pull him with the Jedi Council chamber in, Prophet or Throne Room or whatever, and then, bounce him to, wherever else you'd want to put him. Or Tig gonna move him to the Endor site, or Hitko gonna move him to the Endor site. No Candoosville. Can still go to the Naboo battle planes, which is a decent location, pullable in many activation packages because of Wisa. So you do Boss Nass Chamber battle planes as your actions again. Jedi Council Chamber, pull Yoda, and then bounce him to the battle planes. Will probably be the most common way this text is most likely used, but you could obviously see him relocating to Darkside locations if they have any Episode 1 sites. As we mentioned before, the Watto sites, Mos Espa and whatnot, are popular in entanglements. So if they're setting up entanglements, different things, the option, of course, to move Yoda to one of those sites could help light side interact more. A Brave Resistance, you can only deploy it if Jakku is on the table. So if you want to start it, you have to start Jakku in some fashion. This will slow Legend down a little bit unless they want to use the system as their one Episode 7 location. If they are playing one of the sites, like Maz's castle sites, which a lot of versions do, and then pulling Jakku mid-game or something, or not at all, they won't be able to get the Brave Resistance off. Old allies will still be able, since they start Jakku, they'll still be able to start this, and this is sort of intended as an old allies helper. It just had uses in other platforms, so we kind of saw it be a little more widespread. So now you just can't even deploy it until Jakku is out. There used to be a Jakku Careful Planning deck where you'd start Jakku and Careful Planning for Rey's Encampment. That deck may come back a little bit if it's a good way to start this, to then cycle through some characters and whatnot. Evac getting blanked. Odin getting tweaked. Anakin Skywalker. This was the card that Chris Kelly was so excited about because Anakin Skywalker is now pulling Son of Skywalker or Daughter of Skywalker. Essentially what it's doing here. And then when you're involving Daughter of Skywalker or a Jedi Luke, you get to add a destiny to attrition or cancel the game text of a character of ability less than 4. Could certainly be interesting for some of those. lower ability 3 guys who like draw destiny if unable to otherwise can certainly hit some game text there. Guys like P59, Dr. E combo, who draw if unable to otherwise. Tarkin, who draws if unable to otherwise. If you get yourself mixed up, you wouldn't be so safe now. Setting that P59 to try and top deck that 7 that you tracked around so you can get rid of Jedi Luke, because now they're like, I'm just going to cancel this game text, and now you don't draw. So you gotta think that action through a little bit more, perhaps. All of this stuff is available to read on the forums, so be sure and go there for the full text. You got Help Me Obi-Wan Kenobi getting blanked. Quite a Mercenary is going to pick up the extra text there. Rescue in the Clouds, completely getting a big overhaul on the used part. Basically, all the card draw mechanic is gone, and now you get the cancel. You can still cancel close call. You can still do the cancel the destiny targeting people. You do get this draw 1 if unable to otherwise text, which could come in handy. It'd be nice this would be more handy on a dark side card. They have Decree that they can get rid of once to do it, as opposed to a used 5 interrupt that lets you just draw if unable to otherwise. Certainly a good way to potentially get around Vader Enforcer canceling your game text and leaving one of your guys like an Owen and Baru combo or somebody like that, or a Hera or a Lando, who just add a destiny, who don't inherently draw on their own. Now you can. And Legends getting another adjustment as well. This one right here, you may not deploy Jedi while a Jedi on table. So until you get rid of Luke, you cannot deploy your, all your other Jedi that you've got going on here. Because we used to see, they'd run General Kenobi, they'd run Qui-Gon, and you'd have them all running around, force draining and battling and stuff like that, while Luke is still chilling over on Octo. So now you got to put Luke out of play, and this is for remainder of game as well. So you can only have 1 Jedi on table at a time. So you can't have multiple guys, Ahsoka and General Kenobi tanking up a site. Or EPP Qui-Gon or whatever you got going on. And then the flip side of the objective also got slightly tweaked. So instead of where you have 2 unique resistance characters, you would your force drains would be +1. Now it's once per turn. If you just force drained with 2 unique resistance characters, they lose a force. So instead of being a drain bonus, which can be canceled by a number of things, it is now just a additional ping damage, which is also separate. So even if the drain were to get canceled by strategic reserves or a control set for stun combo or something, well, that probably wouldn't still work because then the drain's canceled, so you didn't really drain. But yeah, if they have something to cancel your force drain bonuses, like, say, the flip side of the hunt down objective, which, cancels force drain bonuses if Vader has a lightsaber, which is way too easy. So yeah, they lose a force. So a little extra ping damage, changing the interaction a little bit, just trying to mix it up and make it a little more diverse, so you get a variety of damage in instead of it all being lumped together. You're watching on your Xbox. That's awesome. The world we live in today. All right. So those are all of the errata that are coming out, and these should be released simultaneously with the set 14 cards. Hopefully it'll all be programmed into Jemp at the same time. We'll have a big launch party, or lunch party if you've watched The Office. then, come on, we get to our new cards. Bear with me for just 1 second. There we go. All right. Hang on. That's not the first slide. We got to go back one. All right, our opening slide. Give it a second for my screen to catch up. My stream to catch up with the screen so I make sure we're up to date. All right, and everybody can view this. Yay, there we go. All right. So, our first dark side cards. They're paired this way because they go together. We have a new Sith icon character who goes over Trinto Duaba, which is one of my favorite cards that rarely sees play. It's like my 63rd card that I would love to fit into so many decks because it's just an interesting interaction, but it never makes the cut because it's fairly restrictive. But a cool card, so good to see it getting some new life. I'm guessing this is Ochi. Don't know who that is. Don't know what particular series they're from. They are a Sith character, so that would be the Maul icon. Power 3, ability 4. Pilot adds 2 to power. While piloting Bastoon Legacy, which is our ship over here we'll get to, it's immune to less than 5. While the episode 7 Emperor on table, your total power here is +3. If opponent's character was just placed out of play, opponent loses 1 force. That seems, and that's part of the text is universal, so that's a natural callback to No Idea, which the flip side of that puts people out of play to protect weapon destinies and things like that. I mean, it could be used to put like Obi out of play or whatever. Or if you could find a way to pair that up with Darth Sidious and start putting their guys out of play and then making them lose force for it, well, good on you. It's an interesting way to do that. Rise of Skywalker. All right, so the guy who killed Rey's parents. Okay. So the guy the Emperor sent to kill his children. Okay. I saw that movie once. Just because. All right, so not bad. Decent stats. Gets a ship here, the Bastoon Legacy, which is an interstellar transport. Hyperspeed 5, always good. Add 2 pilots, 3 passengers. During your control phase, peek at top card of your reserve deck. You can place it on used pile. If it is it's a peek, so you can peek at it and put it back, or you can put it in your used pile. So if you have a bad destiny, you can move it. If you like it, you can keep it right where it is. Or if you have another mechanic like Forlom or something like that who would let you potentially, put a card down to draw it, you can do that. If you don't like the card, you move it to your used pile. If the card is an assassin, you can take it into hand. Ochi there is an assassin. There's a couple other characters that have the assassin icon, game text rather. Lore, that's the word I'm looking for. So the ship has no natural immunity. This guy adds, making it immune to less than 5. 2 pilots, 3 passengers, deploy 3, forfeit 4. Independent icon, not bad. Certainly helps out with that episode 1 Tatooine, which has that restriction. So that's good. All right. So that's our first 2 dark side cards. Let's move on here to the big baddie, the Emperor Palpatine. Emperor returned there. He is a leader, Dark Jedi, only power 2 this time. He gets Dark Jedi Master and a First Order icon, so now he's an episode. Does he have an episode 7 icon? Yes, episode 7. So now he's an episode 7 Dark Jedi who will work with the map objective. Never deploys or moves to a location with a light side icon. Never. So very restrictive in terms of where the character can go. If you are playing map, you've got your 1-0 site and your Starkiller base would be the only places you could ever deploy or move him to. So it would certainly make him a big liability if he's on like a ship or something like that, and that's not where you want to move. Probably not ideal for a lot of the current locations, but maybe there'll be some new locations that, like a current throne room or something like that. That would Death Star throne room. That would make a little more sense for him to go to. Once per turn, draw bottom card of your force pile. So kind of like Rey in that aspect. And once per game, if about to be lost, you can take him into hand. So if you're about to lose him, you can take him back into hand. That's not bad. And then you can redeploy him the next turn, potentially. Now, he can deploy or move to locations the opponent occupies, so he's not restricted in that way the way our primary Emperor is, where he kind of gets stuck sometimes once you're trying to interact with him. This one can actually do those things as long as there's no light side icons at the site. If you find a way to get rid of their icon, like you got like a Sleen or something like that that absorbs their icon, maybe there you go. Now we got to program creatures into Jim. God, what are you doing, design team? Could you put a presence of the Force where he is? Yeah, as long as you never move him afterwards, uh, and have to move him away or move him back, or redeploy him. He wouldn't be able to redeploy where your presence of the Force is. But it's not like if you get an icon there, he's immediately lost. It just says he never deploys or moves. So if they wanted it to be the other way, it would say lost if present with a light side icon or something. So yeah, I mean, there's ways to sort of end up with him in battleground location situations, but or at least interactable situations. But he's not really, I guess, meant for that. He's really meant to be more of a behind-the-scenes manipulator. Drawing cards off the bottom of your force pile, so that force you keep saving for your grabber. That's like, I need to draw to get to that card because, or if you're one of those people who, you check your reserve deck or something, and you're like, ooh, Vader's in my force pile, but I've got 11 cards in there. You're like, I know in my heart where he's gonna be. He's gonna be the last card. So you just start drawing, and you start drawing, and you start drawing, and of course he's gonna be that last gosh darn card, isn't he? Now the Emperor would let you start with the last card. All right, got him. Whoo! I can save these other 10. I don't need these. I'll use them next turn. So then we have our new Mandalorian-related card, the Client. Imperial Power 1 Ability 3. During your control phase, if present at a site and your bounty hunter occupies a battleground, opponent loses 1 force. So if he's at any site and you have a bounty hunter at a battleground, that's it. Occupy battleground. Could be a bounty hunter in space piloting a ship, could be a bounty hunter at a battleground site. He's an Imperial, so not gonna work in scum decks and things like that, or Black Sun. However, you could use the Black Sun quietly observing card to make him one of your 2 characters, so that way you put him at a site with your other guys, and then your bounty hunters who are everywhere. That's just one other additional force loss now you're doing. So now if you're, draining for 1 and 1 and doing a Shadows of the Empire ping, and now adding an additional force loss for that, It gives Black Sun a little bit of a helper. QQ only works with aliens. Oh, he's an Imperial. Well, that sucks. Never mind then. Ignore that. See, I need the other cards on the other screen so I can look this stuff up, but I can't because I'm streaming on that one. I need the third. I need it up on the laptop. Uh, why do we have to have blank lore? Because we can't create lore for cards. We did that initially 12, 15 years ago, and people actually thought it was real and started posting it on like Wikipedia and stuff. And some people were not happy that we were just making up our own stories uh, for cards. So they were like, "Oh, this was printed. This was printed in the Star Wars card game, so it's part of the Star Wars universe." And that was whoa, hey now, what are you guys doing? It's like, well, we just thought we were making up our stuff for our game, and it's like, yeah, no. So yeah, that's a 15, well, probably more than that at this point, year old decision agreement that if a card doesn't have, we can put keywords and stuff in new cards that we make, but we can't, give them flavor text. Can it not be considered fan fiction? Unfortunately, not. So we can't put anything in there. So makes no sense to have client go over a Yoda picture. Well, he's going after he was trying to hunt, a baby version of Yoda. So I guess it was the closest card thematically, unless you wanted to find some. I mean, we don't have a lot of. Well, I mean, there aren't really a whole lot of like old creepy looking white guys that you could just take their pictures and put them like a C card cut out. Maybe there's something better. It's a full template slip. I'm sure he'll have his own creepy guy picture on it. So, and once per game, you just lost a bounty hunter anywhere. There should be an if there. If you just lost a bounty hunter anywhere, you can upload from reserve deck a bounty hunter. So, bounty hunter one dies, go search your deck and get once per game get another bounty hunter. Could certainly be good to get guys like plenty of good bounty hunters out there. Django, Cad Bane, Boba, of course. All right. Wooher might have been good. Yeah, maybe. Wooher might have worked. There you go. Maybe that'll be the AI. All right. Now we've got two new effects that these sort of relate to the map objective. So we've got the dead speak. If I will finish what you started on table, deploy on table, that's the effect that you start with the map objective. You can download Sith Throne. All right, we'll get to see what that may be. While Episode 7 Emperor on Exeggal, attrition against opponent is +2 at same location as Kylo, Pride, or Rey. Your Episode 1 characters are lost. So no Episode 1 characters at all of any kind. But you use this to get your throne, and if you get your Emperor at the throne, you add 2 to attrition wherever you have Kylo, General Pride, or Rey. So if you're battling against Rey anywhere, they have +2 attrition. It's not cumulative, so if Kylo's fighting Rey, their attrition isn't +4. Um, but yeah, there's a few different ways that could obviously work. But obviously, getting the site may be key to trigger some other things, like some of this stuff. First order was just the beginning. Deploy on table. Your Episode 7 troopers are forfeit +1. All right. So those 2 3s are now 2 4s. Phasma becomes a 5. That's cool. Yoda subtracting 2 from attrition at the hut. Yeah, Yoda says. Yoda subtracts 2 from attrition once per battle and whatnot. Uh, this is not once per battle, so if you were to do multiple battles with these characters at different locations, you would get +2 at each. Um, but it's obviously a little more restrictive. So that's a good pickup there, Talon John. Thanks for calling that out. All right. Once per turn, if Episode 7 Emperor on table may download Kijimi or place any 3 cards out of play from your Lost pile to deploy a non-unique Episode 7 Trooper from Lost pile. All right. So once per turn, you've got the Emperor out. You can go get this Kijimi card. We assume it'll be a location. Or place any 3 cards in your Lost pile out of play, and you can deploy a non-unique Episode 7 Trooper from a Lost pile. So it's an Episode 7 Trooper, so you can't go get like the Stormtrooper Cadet. You can just keep losing over and over to soak up all the attrition. And it's only non-unique, so you can't get people like Phasma back, or FN, whatever his numbers are. But you can get some of those first-order troopers, those generic guys, just keep pulling some forfeit fodder back. This could certainly also be very helpful in like a match play situation, because if you can keep putting 3 cards from your Lost pile out of play, it's going to lower your Lost pile count considerably, which is the first tiebreaker in a match play situation. I don't know you'd ever want to play this specifically for that, but that could certainly be, well, if I'm on the fence between, map and hunt down, and all right, well, hey, at least if I lose, I can keep my Lost pile to next to 0. Let's see what's going on in the chat here. Some people, yeah, map was really great, 2 years ago. And it has steadily declined, or drastically declined, as it's been hacked to pieces by multiple erratas. It was too good, then it was slightly too good, then it was not really good at all. And now it's trying to work its way back up a little bit to see if we can find that middle ground. So mostly hope we get to have another first order deck that isn't map. Yeah. Most recent worlds? No. 2019 worlds? Yes. Map was very popular at the 2019 World Championships. And then things like strategic reserves got blanked and the deck took a whole different direction. Meaning the deck hasn't really been played I think if you check the deck list from 2020, I don't think there's more than 1 or 2 people who played map at all, total combined cumulative between like the 3 or 4 major tournaments. It was just a deck that gave up a lot of battlegrounds, a lot of activation, and didn't really have a lot going for it. Having something like strategic to cancel some drains on its own locations was what let it be competitive, to do the trooper beatdowns and things like that. Light side meta kind of shifted its own direction, and was very easy for them to just sort of take over all your locations. And it's like, I put out all these 2/1s, and now I'm getting drained for 3 at all my own sites. So that was something that had to be reworked. So now you've got this. So now you can download the throne, and you can download Kijimi. Let's see what those 2 cards are. Are they on the next slide? Oh my god, they're on the next slide. It's almost like I planned that somehow. I really didn't. So, alright, so we've got the Exeggal, the Sith throne. So this is a location that we can download. 2-0 site. Once per game, you can download Episode 7 Emperor here. Awesome. 0 icons. No force drains here. Light side icons are canceled here. Your characters deploy +2 here. So even if they have a way to put, some type of way to get a card here that gives them an icon, it'll always be canceled. Even if Darkseid wants to throw a Presence of the Force there or something to try and set up a drain or something, you can't do it because there's no drains, and it cancels the light side icon on top of it. So this will never be a battleground. Characters deploy +2 here, making it harder for them to go with spies and things to interact, but still not impossible, as opposed to some of the other sites that might have restrictions on them. So once per game, you can go get your Emperor. So you get your regular setup, then you get a 2-0 location, who then pulls you your Emperor, who adds an extra icon. So there's already a bit of a force activation package. And then once you have the Emperor there, then you can get this location, which is a 2-1 system. If you control, starships are +1 hyperspeed when moving from here. So your guys getting sent out to fight get hyperspeed +1. It's at parsec 6, so there's certainly plenty of room for it, but most Star Destroyers and stuff are hyperspeed 3, so now they could move to parsec 2, so they could reach like Kifix or something, if need be. Lightside's text, Poe and your smugglers may deploy here as a react. Poe and your smugglers may deploy here as a react. That could be bad. That could be very bad, depending on, you're playing against Watch Your Step and they go park at your system and you're like, well, I'm going to battle you. And it's like, well, here come, I saved 5 or 6 force where I play. We've seen people, if anybody, the Jump Warrior Tom, Gavino, some of those guys like to use the non-virtual version of Careful Planning, which lets you draw Destiny and activate up to that much force, if a battle was just initiated. So you draw a 4 or 5, activate 5 force, and deploy 2 guys as a react. Could certainly, be an interesting interaction that might catch somebody off guard. So you've heard it here first. So when it happens, you'll be like, oh crap, I should have saw that coming. That guy told me all about it. Why would you play that system if there's such a downside? Because you can pull it, is really what it comes down to. You don't have to. It's a battleground system that you can pull with your other effects. So we'll go back a second here. So your other effect, giving you your troopers being plus forfeit, and being able to deploy the non-unique trooper back from your lost pile, and having an easier way to satisfy battle plan, and not having to waste a deck slot on either digging for your own system, or setting up the Jakku locations and then pulling the system for Jakku that way in a weird interaction, or playing Quat Drive Yards and wasting a starting effect slot because you're replacing it with something like this. So you kind of get your own system out yourself to then kind of get your deck going. It is in episode 7, so Finalizer does still get the -4 deploy there. So it's not a universal system. You wouldn't play this in a variety of decks. But in this particular episode 7 map friendly, theme, it has its uses. Finalizer adds 1 to drain. Yep. You just got here, Joe? Yes, you missed like all the dark side cards. Well, most of the dark side cards. We still have a few left. All right. We got a new interrupt. Alter collateral damage. Getting a combo treatment. Interrupt is immune to opponent's objective. Does not cause you to lose force to do or do not. Where it's saying it's immune to opponent's objective, that would be Mind What You Have Learned, adding +4 to your Destiny draws. Watch Your Step. On the flip side of it, I know you can't play Sense. I think it says you can't play Sense or Alter. So that would circumvent that as well. Yeah, it is Watch Your Step too. Yep. So you still get this limited interaction, canceling Sense or canceling this text. or if a battle was just initiated at a site where opponent has 4 or more characters. So if you battle them or they battle you and they've got a pile of guys there, draw destiny. If destiny less than number of opponent's characters at that site, opponent chooses one to be lost. Another way to bust up that doom stack. They pile up 5 or 6 guys. You got Luke and Rey and Padme and Leia and we're all together. We're draining for 3. Woohoo! And you're like, I'm gonna battle and then I'm gonna draw a 3, and it's like, pick one of those guys to die. I mean, they get to pick, but that's one guy who's one less character you have to deal with in that battle. Um, opponent, you're sitting there playing your scum deck in your audience chamber, and you've got 4 or 5 guys all tanked up, and somebody wants to come interact with you a little bit. All right, maybe we can bust that up a little bit. Now you got to pick: do you want to lose Jabba? Do you want to lose Effant Mon? Do you want to lose Greedo? Do you want to lose one of your other good utility characters? Like Lady Proxima or something, who have all just piled into that audience chamber. Because now they might set up a low destiny and get rid of one of your guys. And now we've got a Darksaber, which if you've watched the Mandalorian show or the Clone Wars cartoon, you may be familiar with the Darksaber. Those I've seen. Deploy on Gideon. Set 13 Maul, that's the new Maul we just got, or your Mandalorian. Maybe I missed something. I don't remember Maul ever using that lightsaber, but maybe I missed that. I know he was involved in Mandalore a little bit, so in the Clone Wars cartoon, so maybe that's why they're giving him this little flavor text. May add 1 to a 4 strain where present. Target a character, draw destiny, so you only get 1 destiny, not 2. Target hit, forfeit 0 if destiny plus 2 greater than defense value. If just lost from table or hand, opponent may steal this weapon into hand, which is kind of a cool flavor text because it's kind of a hot potato, right? The saber getting passed around from different people who, kind of use it to stake their claim to certain things. So drawing only 1 destiny, but the draw being plus 2 greater than defense value. So you got to draw, you can hit most characters then with like a 4. It's going to hit anybody below the rank of Jedi. A 5 would hit your regular Jedi. You need a 6 to hit a Jedi Master, which sounds about right because the guys wielding the Darksaber are not typically trained Jedi. So that's interesting. And then, of course, if lost from a hand or table, so if you top deck it, they can't just steal it out of your lost pile. But if your guy dies or you throw it away to a 4 strain, they can be like, I'll take that, thank you. And it goes into their hand. Where it can then possibly come back. If they throw it away to a 4 strain, you can steal it back. Right? Don't see why you couldn't. Your guy steals it, you deploy it, you battle, you hit one of their guys, but now you got to lose your guy in the battle. Well, then they get to steal your weapon back. So could certainly be kind of going back and forth a little bit. This will be one of those cards in live tournament play where you're going to have to make sure you get it back at the end of the game, right? You're playing with 59 cards the rest of the game. I think we've all, accidentally walked away from the table and left our U3PO in our opponent's deck, and then, 2 games later, we're like, anybody seen my U3PO? So now it's going to be, hey, have you seen my Darksaber? Excuse me, have you seen my stapler? I believe it's a red swing line. Now, if you do steal it into hand, of course, you're limited in terms of who you can deploy it on. But you could just keep passing it back and forth and just chucking it to 4 strains or whatnot. Could be a way to buy yourself a little time. You have to lose 1 to Visage. Yeah, I'll just throw away the saber. Great, they steal it. You lose 1 to Visage. Give the saber right back to you. And now we've got our two big guys, our two big Star Destroyers, or in this case, our combo Star Destroyers, the Intimidator and the Persecutor. Two Imperial class Star Destroyers, power 12, armor 10, but only hyperspeed 2. Deploys -4 to Scarif or opponent's system. So if Darkseid gets a Scarif, it'll deploy -4 there always. It's deploy 11, so it would deploy there for 7. So that's pretty good. Or opponent system, so any systems that they happen to have out, it would only deploy for 7 there. Deploy 7, forfeit 12. Pretty strong. 4 pilots, no passengers. That's key. 4 ties, 2 vehicles. You can deploy a vehicle and then put the passengers on the vehicle if you needed guys to throw away to forfeit, guys who aren't pilots. Permanent pilots provide total ability of 4, so it will draw by itself. While at Scarif, subtracts 2 from attempts to blow away shield gate. Well, that's some future text because we don't really have a way to do this yet, I don't think. If that's an interaction yet. I feel like we have some text about that on some cards, but it's not really something anyone's ever done yet, so. Will there be a challenge? A Holo Theater challenge. That might be something there. Sure. And then we get the Steadfast, which is a Resurgent class Star Destroyer. Deploy 7, forfeit 8. Power 9. Standard Star Destroyer text, although deploy 7, power 9 is pretty good. That's better than Tyrant and Thunderflare, which are the other deploy 7 Star Destroyers. I think the Virtual Vengeance might also be deploy 7 now. I don't remember offhand. 6 pilots, 8 passengers, 2 starfighters. 2 starfighters. That's a big change too, because now you can possibly not just dock ties, but other ships like Beta Shuttle, Emperor Shuttle, Zuckuss and Misshunter, whatever. Dock them aboard, move cheaper, and then have them get back out. Mara and her ship, Slave One, lots of different possibilities. Permanent pilot provides ability of 2. While alone at a battleground, adds force icons to equalize them for both sides here. So all those 2-1 systems become 2-2 systems. That would effectively give you the ability to drain for an extra 1. So if he's parked at Kashyyyk, which is a dark side 2-1, now he's adding another light side icon. So now it's a 2-2 with drain +1 text on it. And if you happen to have Admiral Chiranu aboard it, well, no, because that's Resurgent class. That's, I think it just says Star Destroyer on Chiranu. So that could certainly boost that. But even still, just equalizing the icons suddenly turns it into a Drain 3 type system. Conversely, if you are at one of their systems where you're already draining for 2, now it equalizes and gives you an extra dark side icon, giving you 1 extra force to work with, potentially to pay for that drain. So if you're at Scarif, it's now a 2-2 system, or Bespin or whatever that you've taken over from your opponent. You get an extra icon there to balance it out. So that's pretty cool. We haven't seen that text since the Bomar Monk from Jabba's Palace, which perhaps you will see in the upcoming Premier to Death Star 2 tournaments. Probably not. Bomar Monk didn't really see much play after Special Edition, but maybe through Special Edition. After Endor, it was just like, there's no point anymore. There's so many other good cards to use instead. Are there any matching pilots that could help pull this? Steadfast matches with Pride. General Pride has something that in his text that will match up with this? Okay. I don't know what he does other than kill Hux, so. Oh wait, we just looked. He got errated. We'll go back to that in a second. So 2 cool new ships for Darkseid to play with. And now we get to our light side cards. And our first is our Mandalorian, our hero of the Mandalorian TV show, Din Djarin. Power 4, ability 3. While with an alien, adds 1 battle destiny. So whether he's with your alien or with their alien, he adds a battle destiny. So he doesn't draw if unable to otherwise, much like Captain Hera. He adds situationally. Obviously, you can play around it by giving yourself aliens and getting 2 battle destiny, or interacting with their aliens, especially in Scum, CCT, Black Sun, those types of decks, or even just hey, you got an EPP Mara or something you can trigger off of. Once per turn, may target opponent's non-hit character here. If he's on table when target lost this turn, choose retrieve 1 force or place target in used pile to retrieve 2 force. So, I target your guy. We battle. If I live, I can either retrieve a force because your guy's now lost, or I can let you put your guy in your used pile, and then I get 2 force back. Could certainly also work outside of battle situations using plenty of cards like Sorry About the Mess, or if you happen to be with a spy and you trigger like a double agent kind of thing, you could just get a little bit of force retrieval off of it. And if you want to give them their character back, you get 2 back for it. So if you need to get 2 cards back, or it's a late game situation, maybe you want to run up your differential a little bit. It's interesting. He's got some ability with profit. Sure, yeah. Underlying card being Yoda's Hope. Yeah, that's kind of clever. We like that. We've got a new Rebel as well. Looks like a no idea helper. Corporal Pow. Pow. He'll pair up well with Bap and Biff. Power +1, while with Melshi or Cephala. So those are 2 guys who are prominently featured in no idea decks. During battle, may add X, limit 3, to a just drawn battle destiny, where X equals number of your spies out of play. So again, using the no idea objective to put your guys out of play. Now you've got an additional thing that sort of triggers off that, where he can add to a just drawn destiny. He doesn't add to your total destiny, he adds to a just drawn destiny. So other things that prevent destinies from being modified, like Shot in the Dark, Flash of Insight now, would still prevent that from being used. If just lost from a site, you may draw cards from reserve deck until you have up to 6 in hand. This is an ISB mechanic we've seen with Tarkin. Usually it's when he's deployed, you can draw until you have up to 6 in hand. So this guy is the inverse of that, where if he's removed from table, just lost from a site. It has to be just lost, not bounced from a site by like set for stun or something. You can draw cards until you have up to 6 in hand. Okay. That's not bad. Certainly will have some interactions. Another good character for no idea, which, let's be honest, was not hurting for good characters. But I think he was one of the last remaining members of the Rogue One assault team that we hadn't added to the game yet. So found a way to thematically fit him in. Let's see. Yep. Sabine is still certainly playable. Pow is cool. Maybe no idea will fight again. I think no idea is still going to do what it does. Drawing when lost is a lot less powerful than drawing when played. Certainly prevents the big beatdown. However, if they come kick the crap out of you and you kind of reload your hand back up a little bit, that lets you possibly set up your counterattack for the following turn. So, it's not certainly not an immediate reaction and response, sure, but it's still something to keep an eye on because anytime you get to draw cards, there's always you know potential for trouble. Let's keep moving on. We got some more characters. We got some resistance characters. We've got Beaumont Kin. At same and related locations, deploy cost of opponent's characters may not be modified. So, no idea making guys deploy +2 would not happen. Conversely, Scum making people deploy -1 also can't happen. So, a little bit of a balancing act there. Uh, Not sure what the symbolism here is. If you have 10 cards in Lost Pile, seems like a random number. 10 cards in Lost Pile. Force Drain +1 here. Once during battle, you can add his power to another character present, and then he becomes hit. So you make him hit to give somebody else +3 power. Potentially more, I guess, if you had a way to boost his power. Interesting. Once you get 10 cards in Lost Pile, he just gets a Force Drain +1, so he certainly has more of a late game impact. Deploy cost of opponent's characters may not be modified. Yeah, that's going to same and related locations. That'll certainly, you know, have a big interaction in a variety of places, I'm sure. Certainly the Admiral's orders, making pilots deploy minus aboard starships. Uh, a number of other weird things. Blizzard 4 deploying a guy for free, right? Is that modifying? Maybe not. I don't know. I don't know the wording on that. That might be a weird thing where you can't do that anymore. I don't know. Could be some interesting interactions with him. I'm assuming it's a him. All right, we got a female stormtrooper, Janna. Other resistance characters of Destiny equal 2, that's not this guy, and Finn are power +1 at same and adjacent sites. So Finn, power +1. Other resistance characters, Destiny equal 2, power +1, as long as they're at either the same or adjacent sites. During battle, if opponent has more than 4 characters here, may exclude one of ability less than 4 from battle. So again, those big piles of guys. Potentially here you can exclude one with Janna. And light side also gets the altar friendly fires. We'll see in a little bit. That does kind of the same thing as the dark side version. So again, kind of trying to, and this is more than 4 characters here during battle, so it could be aboard a ship as well. Stacking 5 pilots and 3 passengers aboard the Devastator and in entanglements or whatever would certainly let you exclude a character of ability less than 4 from that battle. So no Sergeant Barrack or Tarkin, which would be it's going to be tough because Tarkin has to be with 2 other guys in order to trigger his ability. So if they get more than 4, you can get Tarkin, the 2 guys needed to trigger his ability, and 1 guy for forfeit, and that's going to put you exactly at 4. And if you add anybody extra, then somebody's going to get bounced, and I'm betting it's going to be Tarkin. So, yep, definitely good ways to kind of trigger some things. All right, let's see what else we got. 2 more Resistance characters, including a big one on the right there. But first, let's talk about Larma. Female commander and leader. So, commander, keyword important. Some people do interact with commanders, more so on the dark side than the light side. And a leader. So, another Resistance leader. That'll trigger a few people's texts. Finn and Poe are power +1 here. Okay. Finding ways to boost power of guys. During your control phase, if with an opponent spy, opponent loses 1 force. 2 if spy is undercover. So that's R3PO essentially. While Leia present at a battleground site, their fire has gone out of the universe flips and may not flip back. So flip hunt down back to the 0 side, whether it's hunt down or hunt down V, by having Leia out. So, particularly Legend, which is now restricted to only being able to have 1 Jedi in play at a time, certainly making it harder to keep a deck like Hunt Down on the 0 side. So rather than, adding something else like Old Allies has where it suspends Visage, as long as you have Rey out, this gives you the ability to do that with Leia, but you're not just doing that, you're flipping the objective back, because the 7 side of the regular Hunt Down objective prevents you from initiating battle or force drains where you have a Skywalker, which includes Leia. So she's a huge liability in a lot of decks, especially a deck like Old Allies that can't run Jedi. You end up with Hunt Down on the 7 side for most of the game, and Leia's useless. She can't battle, she can't force drain, she's a huge liability to have on the table. So this girl would flip the objective and prevent it from flipping back. Of course, if she happens to be in front of Vader and force her, he can still cancel her game text, which would then flip the objective again. So, some weird interactions there. And then Leia wouldn't be able to battle again because now the objective's back on the 7 side until the game text gets restored at the end of the turn, and then it flips back. Yeah, that's that could certainly be a weird little in-game interaction, but certainly could involve some strategy in terms of how you position people and which Vader you choose to use, of course. So some interesting stuff there. Put her in space. You could do that too, because her text doesn't require her to be somewhere. Leia just has to be at a battleground site. So you could park her in the Falcon or something up at Jakku, and then have Leia running around on the ground, and it keeps Hunt Down on the 0 side. That definitely works. And now the card that a lot of people saw in the Reflections 4 preview packs. Did it get changed? I don't know. If the final version is the same. Rey, all of the Jedi. Resistance Jedi Knight. So now you would have a Jedi version of Rey to play in your Old Allies deck. I don't know if you can. Again, I apologize. I don't know the interactions on Old Allies. I need my GEMP lookup here so I can look up cards. We'll get back to that in a minute. Or you guys will look it up in chat and tell me. Once during your control phase, may search your opponent's lost pile and choose 2 cards. Opponent places 1. I'm sorry, you search your lost pile and choose 2 cards. I was like, wait a minute, you're looking through your opponent's lost pile and putting cards out of play? That's bad. I should slow down and learn how to read. May search your lost pile, choose 2 cards. Opponent places 1 out of play, and you retrieve the other. So get rid of some of your, make it a hard choice for them. Don't pick your characters for the most part. You're probably going to pick things like key interrupts like Clash of Sabers and perhaps the lightsaber or whatever that you might have lost previously, or you know, maybe you pick a good low destiny utility card or a nice high destiny interrupt. So if it's like, do you want to give me my Jedi Lev back or my Jedi's resilience? I don't know. Once per game, may deploy a lightsaber on Rey from reserve deck, reshuffle, immune to attrition less than 5. So she gets the Son of Skywalker treatment with the deploying the lightsaber from reserve deck once per game. Can't play any Jedi and old allies? Okay. I wasn't sure if you just couldn't play non-episode 7 non-Lukes or something like that, but I know you can't play Luke. I wasn't sure if you also just how it was restricted. So, okay, cool. So, it's another Jedi for, well, you know, any deck or, for Legend or something like that. It's another Resistance. Since you're limited to one Jedi, might as well have a pretty good Jedi, right? That kind of timeline in the movie, everybody's gone and out of play except Rey at that point. So, um, if you're going to have just one, might as well be a strong one. Um, and again, possible match play situation, putting a couple cards out of play could be helpful to lower your lost pile count in case you get into a tiebreaker situation. Just being able to retrieve is also good. If you can cover 2 battlegrounds to get around Coward and whatnot. Oh, let's keep moving along. Keep on keeping on. Or just pick 2 loots. If Luke's already on the table and you don't plan on him ever dying, well, that wouldn't be bad. Alright, so we saw the altar collateral damage. Now we've got altar friendly fire. Same thing, mirror card. You don't lose card force, there is no try. It's immune to opponent's objective, so no hunt down, adding +4 to your draw. Then we get our only hope. This text relocates prophecy to a site, or if he is the chosen one, or he will bring balance on table, upload Yoda's Hut or Death Star 2 site. Yoshi, thank you for renewing your subscription. You can't play your altar and watch your step. No, you cannot play. Well, yeah. No, I don't think you can because it says censor altar may not be played. So no, you can't use this in your own deck because it's only immune to your opponent's objective. So the text that was on Anakin Skywalker that made it the super card where it had like 7 awesome things that it did has been split up. So Anakin Skywalker kept the add the destiny to attrition part, but now it does the download the daughter and son part, and the other part that relocated prophecy or got you the Death Star 2 site has been moved to this new card, which also gets you Yoda's Hut. So now you don't have the effect that gets you Yoda's Hut right out of the gate. Now it's on an interrupt that fishes it out of your deck for you. So it's not guaranteed or relatively guaranteed that, first turn 2-0 activation. Now you got to play 2 or 3 copies of it to promote some more deck slots, kind of the way you had to with, Throne Room with Wisa and Speaks and things to get your locations out. Now you have to do the kind of the same thing here. Cool picture on Our Only Hope, so I'm glad to see that kind of make it into play. So there's a little bit of reallocation of Hitco's resources. More hunt down non-V hate. Not really. Um, because Huntdown typically only has like Vader and by himself, or like Vader and somebody else at a site. So if you're really good at tracking and you can set up a one or something like that to trigger and draw less than the number of people, then they just pick the guy who's not Vader. But yeah, I mean, obviously, it could, if it's Vader and Maul in a battle, it still doesn't work because they got to have four or more characters for you to even do it. So it's pretty rare that Huntdown has more than four character, or I'm sorry, has four characters in a battle together. It's not usually the way a lot of those games go. I mean, sometimes you get in those games where you're just piling guys. When you're playing against like Throne Room, whoever digs in first and just piles guys up at one of the 2-2 locations, which is like usually the only battleground on the table, whether it's the battle plains or this Death Star 2 site or whatever, the Endor Ewok village. Maybe that weird scenario there, you end up with a pile of guys there, but that's good. Stop over deploying all your characters to one location. Spread them out a little bit. All right. We get a little bit of a TIG tweak here with a virtual Chief Chirpa's hut. Two O location still. You may not generate more than 2 force at non-battlegrounds. Ewoks deploy -2 here. Dark side text is force generation here may not be prevented by objectives. So the TIG objective basically says that your force generation is +2 where you have Luke, which makes this Chief Sherpa's hut a 4-0 start scenario for them. But it also says that while they have an Imperial at the docking bay, your opponent, you generate no force where Luke is. So against TIG, a lot of times first turn you see people like, I'll just throw Ozzel at the docking bay for free, and now they don't activate any force. So I don't have to worry about them deploying and battling me because they get their 4-0 location just became a 0-0 location. So now they get one from the docking bay, one from themselves, and one for Walkling. Like, you can't deploy a character. You might be able to deploy a character for 3. You certainly can't deploy a guy and initiate a battle with that. And even if you could, it's probably not somebody who's drawing Destiny. So here's a little bit of a trade-off with that. You don't get the +2, but you also can't get screwed into getting 0. So you're basically just a flat static 2. And then you can plan your activation accordingly from there. Oh, and your Ewoks deploy -2. So if you have any Ewok situations, you want to play some fun Ewok decks, or do something and pull like Wuta or somebody who then gets you other locations, you could certainly set something like that up. We're basically telling Dan he's wrong. Okay, cool. Just catching up on the chat. All right. Then we've got our first of 3 new light side starships. We get the ARC 170 Starfighter. This is a clone army ship, Republic, first episode 1, first trilogy there. You can add a pilot or passenger. Permanent pilot provides ability of 2. Opponent may not react to or from here, so that's kind of key, not being able to react to there or away from there in any form, whether it's moving ships or deploying guys or deploying Greedo or whatever. So during battle, if about to be lost before the damage segment, so Baron and Cannon gonna shoot him in the face, lost at end of battle instead. About to be lost before the damage segment. Lost at end of battle instead. Does it forfeit for 0, the way cards on Kaelor Slug and stuff do? Or do they get to retain their forfeit? Because Baron, right now, looks like they get to retain their forfeit. So Baron shooting the ship, making it immediately lost, basically just means that they just have to forfeit it instead. Because it's not lost until the end of the battle. But if it was hit, yeah, you would get rid of it then. I guess the interaction would be something like, well, no, because collision is a light side card. I'm trying to think of any other dark side ways that you would have to, during a battle, make a ship lost. Other than with a weapon that would hit it and make it have to be lost anyway. Yeah, we talked about the cannons. Relentless Pursuit. Yeah, but you're still going to be hit. So I can't think of an interaction. Like, you'd have to be hit with a weapon to trigger all of the dark side ways of removing the ship from the battle. So this is basically just telling you you have to forfeit it. So that seems like a win-win for light side. It's like you have to lose it at the end of the battle instead, so you get to keep your guys and still draw destiny and things like that, and then you get to forfeit it for 6, to soak up any extra battle damage and attrition. That seems really strong for light side. It seems like it really takes a lot of the wind out of dark side's space weapon scenario. But maybe there's an interaction I'm not thinking of. Yeah, but you're still, yeah. Yep. All right. Moving on to our other 2 ships. So we get Oddball's Torrent Starfighter, also a Republic Episode 1 ship. These are all Republic ships, so they're all a whole new space fleet for WAP. May add 1 clone pilot. Oddball deploys -1 aboard. While he's piloting, it's power and hyperspeed +1, so power's kind of low. Hyperspeed gets a little bit of a boost as well. Adds destiny to total power, so you get to draw and pump its power up even further. It's naturally immune to less than 3. It's less than 5 if you get Oddball aboard. And then if you have, if you're playing this in WAP or something like that, then anything above a 3, you just cancel. So this would always be immune to attrition. Not bad, not bad. This was a card from Legacy, Plo Koon's Jedi Starfighter that we get back. The text looks pretty similar. You add any Jedi as a pilot, and the maneuver equals the pilot's ability. Well, you can only put a Jedi on it, so it's either going to be a maneuver 6 or maneuver 7, depending on which Jedi you're using. While Plo piloting, power +2, immune to attrition less than 3, and once per turn may cancel and redraw your weapon or battle destiny just drawn here. So draw something bad, you don't like it, cancel it and redraw it. Power +2, making it power 4. Plo himself adds 2 when piloting, so he would pump it up to 6. So basically your ship is a 666. Wait a minute. That's not good. Yeah, and then Plo has to text himself where he can do stuff with Episode 1 ships to make the ship completely immune as well. So that thing certainly has a lot of potential as well to stick around for a while. So WAP gets a little bit of a boost there. Are we done? Oh, no, wait, we've got one more card. Ahsoka's lightsaber. Deploy on Ahsoka or a non-episode 1 Padawan. Non-episode 1 Padawan, you say? Do we have any non-episode 1 Padawans out? I think we maybe not. Maybe not yet. Just setting it up so we can get little baby Grogu who can start playing around with the lightsaber. Target character creature for free, draw 2 destiny, hit, and may not be used to satisfy attrition. So not forfeit 0. We're getting away from the forfeit 0. This is another little legacy throwback. There were a number of weapons and, guys who they couldn't have their forfeit reduced, and then their weapons, when they hit people, they didn't make them forfeit 0 because of that. So now it was like, well, you're hit, but you can't be used to satisfy attrition because your game text says I can't make your forfeit 0. So now you end up in those same type of scenarios where just like the game kind of stagnates because only like one guy a turn is dying, even though multiple people are getting hit with weapons. So even if you were to use, hey Taz, thanks for renewing your subscription. Even if you were to use something like the first aid or the Odin Nestler combo or whatever to protect or Darkseid doing the Lana Dobreed sacrifice combo, which kind of does the same thing to protect your forfeit. Somebody else also gets hit or whatever. They're not forfeit 0, but they can't be used to satisfy attrition. So hopefully you can get rid of 2 guys or more each battle, and that'll kind of speed the game along a little bit as well. Bonus text, if hit target is an Inquisitor, opponent also loses a force. So all those Inquisitors that are running around, mostly in Hunt Down V, but occasionally we see a few of them drift into other decks. When Ahsoka hits people, she'll make them lose a force, which I think is a nice little flavor bonus. Story-wise, she doesn't have this lightsaber until she's a Jedi Knight level Force user long after Episode 1. So this is her newer lightsaber that she doesn't get until, not her regular lightsabers that she was using in the Clone War cartoons. So there you go. That's why I can't go on Episode 1 Padawans. Although I guess you could put it on an Episode 1 version of Ahsoka, but I think the only version we have of her right now, we've got the Jedi version, and then we've got the Padawan version, who's the EPP. So we don't have a Padawan version who would be able to add a lightsaber. So another non-Episode 1 Padawans, none are coming to mind right now. So that's it. That's our 25 cards. So certainly some interesting new interactions with some things. I forget what I was coming back in here to look up to see exactly how something was worded. Oh, Pride. We're trying to say that he was a matching pilot for Steadfast. Don't see it in here. Let me go back and check I don't remember seeing it on the spoiler version either, so. I don't know what the release date is. We haven't gotten that information from design yet. Chris Kelly was asked about it last week, and he was kind of vague about it, that there's still a lot of moving parts, so he can't quite nail down a release date. So I would say chances are it's going to be after March 1st. So the March OCS tournament may start in the current environment. So if you really like the current decks, you might have a little bit longer to play them. If you don't like the current decks and you're looking to play with some of the new stuff, maybe you'll save your games for the first week or two and wait till the middle of the month. So, yeah, thank you guys very much for stopping by and great comments in the chat. Appreciate it. You guys keeping it interactive. But yeah, I mean, we'll get the cards up when they're finalized and ready. I don't know what still has to possibly go through proofing. Um, the playtesting team may still be looking at stuff for maybe there's something that we brought up in our discussion right now that they're like, ah, crap, we didn't think about that. Or, you know what, maybe that's a bigger problem than we thought it was. Um, you know, maybe we do need to tone something down or push something up a little bit more. So don't be surprised to see if things get an adjustment here or there. But in the meantime, don't forget about the Online Championship Series, the OCS, off and running. You can sign up for that still, $10 a month, 6 months, or you can buy the season pass for $50, and you get 1 month free, which would be February, which you only have about a week left to play. You can still sign up, and you can still get added to February to try and see if you can get all of your games in. Other things coming up, we've got the 2021 Retro event, which is a Premier Death Star 2 format tournament. That starts April 1st, so still time to sign up for that and get yourself involved there. All the details can be found on the PC forums in this little event schedule and registration information. There's even some links to some old decks and deck details. The event, we have had a Premier Death Star 2 event before. It was back in 2009. I know I don't remember exactly if that was Premier Death Star 2 or if it was a Worlds 2000 format, because I feel like Worlds 2000 might have had an extra set or something in there. I could maybe the Jabba's Palace sealed deck came out after that. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Maybe we pre-released that. I think we pre-released Jabba's Palace sealed deck at Worlds 2000. So it's kind of should still sort of be the same format then. We don't have things like No Escape and Unita, which completely changed the landscape of a lot of decks. Um, Not just because of the Diamond Sight interaction with like No Escape, but also because of the Honor being such a pain in the buttocks. Trying not to swear, but yeah, Premier Death Star 2 with Honor of the Jedi. It's kind of a it's kind of an unfun situation. So a lot of your decks, if you're relying on any type of weird damage for that, be prepared to have to play around Honor a lot. So you are very welcome, Mr. Kelly, Design Advocate. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to present this. Wednesday is target date to post a proof list. Then D&D will listen to community chatter. So this Wednesday coming up, that would be the 24th, the full list and text will be posted to the forums, and then everybody can spout off about what they like and don't like and think is stupid and think is broken. And design and development will take a few days and listen to your feedback and then adjust or ignore it accordingly. So um, hopefully people take a look at the stuff and playtesting has gone through a pretty extensive round, but there's always these weird interactions or things that people miss, or they played the card the way it's intended to, but it's not 100% written that way, so there's something that's unclear or ambiguous, or the way it was discussed and playtested isn't the way that it was actually intended, or something that ends up getting adjusted at the last minute. Maybe they'll tweak that arc Starfighter so it has to be forfeited for 0 at the end of the battle, like Kalor or Nagak Warbeast, like those texts say there. Maybe that's my one contribution, and I'm done. I got it. I'm good. Um, but thank you guys very much for tuning in tonight. Also, be sure to check out Holo Theater this Wednesday night. Dan, do you have a guest for this Wednesday, or are you still here? Do you want to plug your show? There's also the Gem PC currently going on. We streamed some games this week. We are down to like the top 8, I think, right? What are we down to here? Top 8. We got a Rebel Spy versus Joker King. We got Adam Trunzo against Larry Kraft. CRG advanced. He'll take on Just Shy. And then we got Dylan versus Advocate there. So those are our final 8. Congratulations to all those players on making it this far. And, we'll get, once those players have determined when they're going to play, we'll get those matches posted here as much as we can and try and get those some live coverage. If you happen to miss the live coverage, the videos do get exported over to YouTube, as you can see a number of these YouTube links here. They all end up on the PC's YouTube page eventually, where you can get caught up or watch them at your leisure. You want to click on that new allies tab? You won't be able to see anything anyway. We've got like 57 people on our team and like 98 channels. So, I mean, you really wouldn't ever actually learn anything other than what our channel headings are. No guest as of yet. Well, I'm sure Dan will find somebody qualified to be on his show on Wednesday. Somebody who's looking forward to doing a lore challenge, and possibly, I don't know, discussing the Gem PC, the upcoming premiere to Death Star 2 event, the new spoiled text. I don't know. That's his show. He'll figure it out. Hollow Theater's always great, right? So you guys tune in there Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Maybe it'll be a game of Dan playing against Queso, and they'll play, I don't know, categories or something. Who knows? But I'm going to wrap this show up here because now I'm completely rambling and making absolutely no sense whatsoever because I've run out of material. So thank you guys very much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the new cards, and look for this full text to be posted on Wednesday. Have a great night.